about 6:25 too. Thank you for bearing with us with the tech, but it's now sorted. We've got a magician in the house. Thank you. Can everybody hear okay? Yeah, okay. Just wave at us if I start mumbling or anybody else. I'm just going to do welcome and domestics and then hand straight over to our headline attraction, to our colleagues from Futures. I'm Andrea Birch, I'm the CEO of Bassett Law CVS, and I'll be telling you a bit about community grants later in the day, and then colleagues from the District Council are also joining us to tell you about other Priority 3, Shared Prosperity Fund opportunities. But as I say, Futures is the main attraction today, and they transform your future, which I still keep calling the old
UK SPF E33 just trips up the
So, in terms of domestics, welcome everybody, don't worry, we've not started. There's no fire alarm planned. If the fire alarm goes off, it's the real thing, so follow us down the stairs and we'll go and assemble outside. Coffee and tea here, help yourself as we go, you don't need to wait, there's no particular break. And we are asking you to sign in so we can follow up afterwards with you, thank you. Plenty of time built in today for questions and answers. That's what it's all about, getting people in front of you to ask questions. And if we can't answer them today, we're going to go away, find out and get back to you.
Just sign on paper.
So, it's always nice to have a queue for an event, isn't it? Don't worry, just come in and you can sign in a bit if you want. We'll pass around
Pass that in
the...
which case?
We'll pass around the iPad to sign in. So, with no further ado, I'll hand over to Chris Gaycock, who's Head of Partnerships at Futures.
Thanks, Andrea. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris from Futures, Head of Partnerships, as the slide says. A little bit about Futures for those who don't know. We're a company that's jointly owned by Nottingham City Council and Nottinghamshire County Council, so we're a publicly owned social enterprise. We deliver a range of contracts, employment, skills, careers related, across Nottinghamshire, Nottingham, but also into Derbyshire, into that wider East Midlands, and actually as far down as the east of England in some cases, even though we're from this area. Main ones being the National Careers Service, which is the government's main adult careers contract. We deliver an adult skills contract, a non-devolved AUB contract, we do a range of skills courses as well. And we're a restart provider, which is the DWP's main programme for the long-term unemployed you may have heard of. We deliver that in Worksop. We're based in the Bridgecourt Skills Hub. Well, that's with Bassett Law Council over there. So we've got a significant presence in the area. Although we cover that whole area, I'm also from Bassett Law as well. So it's always nice for me to come back and see what we're delivering in this part of the world. We all have this, can click on slide please, cheers, thanks. So we've also recently been awarded what was called the UK SPF E33 for project, which really is an exciting name, but what it basically it means is we're supporting the economically inactive to get life skills, to get accredited qualifications and training, to enhance their employability skills, to get work experience, etc. and a number of other things I'll come on to. It's a project that exists across 6 districts of Nottinghamshire, so it's commissioned by each of the 6 districts, other than Newark and Sherwood, and obviously this one here is in Bassett Law. It's got one system, one structure to it, but we're trying to give it local features, which means it's tailored to local conditions and can really suit the local communities in which it works. And we're hoping it can be a pilot for devolution when we get future rounds of UK Shared Prosperity Fund, when we've got the new mayoral combined authority, which is due to coming to be in April 25 mayoral elections, and this May, of course, for those that don't know. So yeah, it's employment and skills support for the economically inactive. We have 70% of the contract, which is direct delivery by Futures, ourselves, and then another 30% roughly, which is we're going to deliver through a community grants programme, and that's what I'm here to talk about mostly today. Bassett Law has an allocation of 53,547, very precise number. We're looking at grants of around 10,000 to 25,000. There will be some flexibility with that, but really we're looking to award anywhere between 5 to 3 grants, 5 maybe 6, across the Bassett Law area. We've also funded Bassett Law CVS to do some infrastructure work, which is what this is, to help host events, to help us connect with local community organisations, people working in local communities that might be interested in applying for a grant. So thanks to Andrea for putting on today. Next slide, please. I won't go through into all of that, but that just lists the mix of priorities the Bassetlaw District Council wanted and which we responded to as part of our bid a little bit. You can see that goes right down into the corner. I'll just get out of the way. So we've got a base level within communities. We really want to make sure this is rooted in communities. It's not like we've got a centre in the centre of workshop and we just expect people to come into there. We want to really do our outreach. We want to reduce that inactivity within Bassetlaw and focus on males aged 50-64, working with local CBSE partners across the board. This wanted our delivery, this includes our delivery and the grants programme, to be focused on those different areas. Now that means if you're applying for a grant, it doesn't mean we'd expect you to cover multiple of those areas. It can just include one of those areas or another area if you can justify the priority for that. The work we're looking for is a mix of group sessions, one-to-one support, bespoke to the individual's needs and accommodate various learning styles, circumstances and personal preferences. We want it to be accessible and we're looking to see collaboration. We're collaborating with the Bridge, we want to collaborate with other community organisations, with the CBS, and we've got a stakeholder partnership manager who I'm in the process of recruiting to at the moment who's going to help and assist and network the different community organisations and our own direct delivery so we can deliver a seamless programme. Next slide please. So the timeline for our community grants programme, the first grant window is going to open for a 6-week period in the middle of March. We'll have a page on our website which will be circulated out through CBS, the CBS and other partners. We're going to then, after we get the grants through, the EOIs through, and we will share that paperwork with you in due course. So you've got a site of the EOI, and you can come to us and you can come to Bassetlaw CBS to ask questions and support around that framework as well. The scoring window by the grant assessment panel is from the end of April through to the middle of May. We've got to make that decision by the middle of May, giving a month for mobilisation, and then delivery from June to December 2024. We are looking at opening a second, if we don't manage to get all the money out the door in the first tranche, we are looking at opening a second grant window from July to September, which will have October to March delivery as well. So we've got 2 grant windows running concurrently. We'll see how we get on if we spend all the money in the first quarter. If we get takers of that, then we won't need to open a second grant window. If we've got poor performance and therefore underspend, organisations can't find that they can't deliver the requirements, we may need to recycle some of that money and therefore have a second grant window for that as well. Next slide please. So that just gives you a quick breakdown of those timelines. The round 1 grants there, round 2 grants there, going across that way, right to left for some reason. It's an interesting feature we use. So you can just really see that we've got the promotion, which we're doing now. The grant we will be more of these sessions too. Grant application window opens. The grant panel, which includes ourselves, Bassetlaw CBS, and the District Council, and we'll review it. We'll have that introductory calls with recipients and then obviously the grant delivery over that 6-month period. Slide please. The payment process will be staggered, so 25% will be received at the start once all preparation checks are done and the initial contracting is complete. You get 25% at a halfway review meeting, 25% once half of the outputs and outcomes are achieved, which will be no earlier than the halfway point, but you might get 50% at that halfway point if you're well on the way to it, and then 25% of completion of outcomes and outcomes. So that's the payment schedule and the trigger points for when we will release the grant. Next slide please. The performance management and data capture that we're looking for, and we will supply some of this, so we will supply an enrolment and initial assessment form, which are usually done at the same time for participants and assigned by the customer. They'll get an action plan, which can be done at the same time, or a subsequent meeting of what you can do to achieve the outputs and outcomes on it will also be signed. There'll be an outputs table that we supply to you as well, which will just be a spreadsheet where you can record against different individual participants what they've achieved and what they're doing to achieve it. Individual records will need to be kept, and we're allowing a degree of discretion on what that is, but there are going to be some evidence requirements which we'll come on to shortly, which I'll come up to. We aren't going to be necessarily wanting to see all your paperwork and everything that you keep as a record of what you've achieved with those participants, but we may do sample checks and we may ask for case studies, an individual case study to showcase what the grant has achieved in your community for the individuals you're supporting. We'll have monthly performance reviews, so you'll get, and those will be a very supportive review. That's not to sort of hold hold your feet to the fire, but to have a conversation with the stakeholder partnership manager and potentially some of the council commissioners as well if they want to be involved in that process. What I haven't said as well is that our own direct delivery and our own direct delivery teams are going to be operating around in this area. We don't want to be competing for the same customers, so they want to have very collaborative relationships with grant recipients, and you get support from them as well. Obviously, we're an experienced organisation used to delivering these types of contracts. Our managers will be happy to support, give you guidance, and ultimately we can work on the same participants together to achieve different outputs and outcomes. We just can't claim the same outputs and outcomes. So if we help them get a qualification in maths, you help them into volunteering with your local community organisation, we can share that person, we can share those outputs across us, and we've got a method for recording that. Next slide, please. So the evidence requirements that we'd be looking for, and these are being the forms of things like emails, if it's a referral, maybe some sort of statement that's signed by the customer, and these relate to the different outputs and outcomes that need to be achieved, which I'll come on to shortly. So it's things like have they started a course, a letter from the college maybe, or a small independent training provider, they've gone to a DWP appointment because they've started claiming benefits, volunteering, that they're volunteering, if they've got employed, maybe a wage slip or a copy of a job offer, or if they're starting to look for work, sign up with a recruitment agency, or a photograph of them job searching if they're at a computer in your offices or in your centre. Evidence of a referral, so have they gone to another organisation that's helped them with their money management or with their housing issue. Evidence of a GP appointment if they're working with health services, and which works for any appointment really, not just the GPs. And then evidence of attending a workshop or event or going to a social club. The people that we're looking to support, the economically inactive, are basically not people claiming an unemployment benefit. They're the people that are either claiming a benefit but aren't required to find work by the DWP. That's maybe because they've got a health condition or a caring responsibility or another requirement, or they're just not claiming a benefit at all and not actively seeking work. So it is designed to help that group that's economically inactive. And these are the types of things that we're going to be looking for them to be achieved. Next slide, please. So what I would like to do before I open the questions, do you have the spreadsheet? The spreadsheet there. I'm just going to go through the spreadsheet, because what the spreadsheet shows is this shows you what the different outputs and outcomes are and provides those definitions.
Not mine, Jason.
Yeah, not yours.
Just while you're looking for that, can I just throw a little bit in just to fill the technical pause? In terms of the award of this contract, the one thing from the authority that differentiated Futures from other bidders was actually this element of the community grants. So organisations like Futures got the finger on the pulse, they've got a good overview of what's happening in Bassetlaw and can respond to that, but these local community groups and volunteering organisations, they've got probably a really closer view of what's happening down in little areas of towns and specific wards across Bassetlaw. So this is a way of really drilling down into that specific need in particular parts of Worksop or some of the more rural areas of Bassetlaw. So this was a really important element of the overall E33 contract that we awarded to Futures.
So this is the funding calculator, which we'll share when we're putting out the grant paperwork. You'll see at the moment there's a number that says 10,000 in that funding request. Can you just do me a favour and change that to 15,000, and you'll see the numbers changed. So why it's a calculator. So you see the numbers change there. So ultimately, that gives you the breakdown of what we're looking to achieve for people in terms of starts, outputs, and outcomes. So for £15,000, you'd need to support 17 individuals over that 6-month period. 8 would be supported to engage with key workers, so developing a key worker model. Economically inactive people supported to engage with the benefit system. So if they're not claiming a benefit now, or they're claiming a non-work benefit, are you moving them into an unemployment benefit? Number of socially excluded people accessing support, so that would be providing evidence that the person was socially excluded in the first place, and now by coming to you, they were getting that support. Number of people supported to access basic skills, so that's the sort of people you're getting to think about raising their English level, raising their maths level, maybe it's doing a functional skills course, maybe it's doing multiply at the library. Number of people accessing mental and physical health support, so if they've got a health condition, obviously a lot of this group will have health conditions, are they doing more physical exercise, are they going to NHS talking therapies, those sorts of things, and evidence in that. If they're now engaging in job searching, are they signed on a recruitment agency? Are they looking for work? Have you got evidence that they've actually gone and tried to find work? Number of people receiving support to gain employment. So have they contacted any employers? Have they had any interviews? Have they attended any jobs fairs or things like that? The number of people receiving support to sustain employment. So if they're in work, how much support they receive once they've been in work to keep them in work, and then further effective working between key workers and additional services. So that's just demonstrating that you are linking with other organisations that can support addressing these people's barriers to accessing learning and work and getting into employment. Just scroll down so I can do the outcome profile as well. So these are the ones the harder ones that we need to achieve. These are what they need to achieve. So 4 people now receiving benefits that weren't receiving benefit, 11 active in the community, maybe continuing to receive support from your group once they've been engaged. Number of reporting increased employability. Do they feel that the development of their interpersonal skills, their interview skills, their ability to write applications, I feel like I've got a better chance of getting a job now, and they're reporting that. Increased proportion of beneficiaries with basic skills. That doesn't mean they need to complete a full level 2 qualification in English or Maths or ESOL. It just means they need to have access to courts, maybe completed a unit of a qualification, but enhancing their basic skills and are on that route. Maybe they've done entry level 1 or 2 if their Maths or English was particularly low standard. Number of people in employment, 2. Number of, so there's again, so supported employment, so that's the number of people in supported employment, that's an environment where they're effectively receiving support at a placement. Number of people accessing healthcare that weren't before. Number of people that are still engaging with you as a key worker and working with you. There is some duplication in these outputs and outcomes, and the activities, one activity might be able to achieve multiple outputs and outcomes. Those that are actively still engaging in job searching, so not just that you've received support to engage in job searching, but you're actively still engaging in job searching now. And then the last 2, the numbers that are actually in employment, stage of employment. And obviously 17, you see, that those are quite low numbers that we're actually looking to get into work, because we recognise the complexity of this group and how difficult it's going to be to convert them as well. There are quite a number of these, but as you'll see from the breakdown, a lot of these are coming out as zeros, because for the amount of money you received, the overall project total was so low that you don't actually have to achieve any for 15,000. So support to engage in life skills, so that could be things like household budgeting, etc., taking part in work experience 1, taking part in volunteering 2, and then again there's some activities here, people who are familiarised with what it's like in the workplace, fewer people facing structural barriers to employment and reporting it, number of people gaining qualification 1, number of people in education or training 1. So while there are quite a lot of outputs and outcomes that we need to report on this, and this is quite new for us as well in terms of the scheme, a lot of them can be achieved through the same activity, and we will provide you with specific guidance on how it is you report against these. So while those profiles there is an extensive number of things you need to report on, the number of them is actually relatively small, and achieving them can be done, as I say, done through the same activity, so it shouldn't be overly complex. But that basically gives you a rundown of the profile. As I say, we are launching the grant in mid-March, from which we will provide this calculator so you can have a look at what you'd like to do. We will provide the EOI paperwork, and we'll be doing more of these sessions as well. And of course, clarification questions that people want to ask. And as I say, my other point is that we have got active delivery teams in this area. We're looking to work alongside you, we're looking to collaborate with you, we're not looking to just give you some money and then leave you to it, etc. So that concludes basically the presentation and the offer that we've got in this programme. Happy to take any questions that people have. Hello.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask about the benefits, because you've mentioned that people need to be on benefits and need to be not work related.
Yeah.
So it can't be, for example, working tax credit?
No.
Okay.
No. It would need to be either a legacy benefit like ESA or IB, or it would need to be the Universal Credit non-work group.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, can I just add, earlier on you mentioned the age groups.
Yeah.
You say, is that...
It's not fixed, that's just a priority
Right,
group.
okay.
It's all adults. If you work more with young people, that's fine, but it is adults, it's 18 plus, the eligibility criteria. Economically inactive and 18 plus.
Just to clarify, you know the numbers, if you're helping the same person doing more than one of those things, that can be counted. So
Absolutely.
they've gone to a group and got a job, that's
Absolutely.
that can count
you can
against those
start
two
more
different
people
things.
to achieve more of the. So if you think someone's going to go straight into work, you could start them, achieve some of the outputs and outcomes, and then get them into work. And if they haven't achieved all the others, you could achieve those with other people. So you can start more than 17, of course. You know, if you feel like you've got to blend and you've got different types of people, there's lots of flexibility. And as I say, we can help you achieve some of them for you. If we've got, as I said before, we run adult education budget, so we might put on a swap or a training program, which we then invite you to refer your participants into. So that would help you achieve. You can achieve that output that way as well. So there's lots of flexibility in how you can achieve those outputs and outcomes. Can I guess?
Sorry, it might not be a relevant question. So I oversee exercise referral programs at the local leisure centre. We get quite a lot of individuals that would like to take up the offer of the bespoke programme that we design around their health needs, and one of them is, a lot of the time, it's weight or mental ill health. Would these people, they would have to then be in that category that you've just mentioned, as in, it's the finances for a lot of people to use our centres that becomes a bit of a barrier.
Yeah.
Would a grant be viable to apply for to help support them use this? Because we have the pathways with all the other things that we could probably, DWP, we could...
If you feel you can achieve the output and outcome profile, yes. I think if you're working with a broader network of people that help you achieve those outputs and outcomes, then absolutely, yeah, you can do that. Is that your question? Sorry, I don't know if I've
yes,
answered your
kind
question.
of. Yeah, no. So I was just trying to get, because we do signpost to a lot of other organisations that potentially would tick box a lot of the other.
As long as you're happy capturing that information and getting that, you're the key worker,
Yeah.
but they're going out and they're achieving things elsewhere, then that's fine for you to do. Absolutely.
I think it sounds feasible.
Yeah.
I mean, does this sound like something people? Can I just ask if people would be interested in? There's a general feeling around the room. People be interested, or does it sound way off, or like I don't know.
I think it's difficult without a definitive list that says that means you're economically inactive,
Yeah.
and through the process that other side means you are now economically active, and that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to get people to do.
Yeah.
If you've got that black and white, that as a group, and that's where what we're getting to, I think more people, well, for me, I'd be more...
Yeah. Well, as I say, it isn't. You know, it isn't necessarily that every single person you meet has to become fully economically active.
Yeah.
You just have to achieve some of these outputs and outcomes with them. In theory, achieving these outputs and outcomes wouldn't put them in a position where they are economically active or close to
But
economic.
in the view of this grant application and deliverance, that would mean that they're fulfilling that criteria. And it's like, how do we understand exactly what criteria they've got to achieve?
What other information could we provide then to help you understand?
I'm not sure what exists apart from what we've just seen there. So I think that's the difficulty for me.
Yeah.
You know, fresh into it. It's how do I get in my mind the criteria with more clarity?
Yeah. As a lot of it in terms of what calculates that criteria will be a sort of test. We suck it and see to a certain extent. Well, we can learn that. You know, you say if I referred somebody to this, and it's very open. So a lot of those things, for example, if you're helping someone socially excluded people accessing support, that's them just coming to you and receiving support. So that's that one ticked off. They've effectively achieved that at that point. If you're referring them into work between key workers and additional services, well, those additional services could be a range of different things. That could be citizens' advice, giving advice around money management. That could be the council's housing aid team. It could be a range of different things that I've probably, you know, it could be going to a local sports club or something like that, you know, or going to a social club or socialising. So the definitions are quite open in that sense. So hopefully there's a range of things you can do to help hit the targets. Janine, Janine's our head of targeted support. So Janine's overseeing our direct delivery, if you like. So that's 70% of the contract is direct delivery, and her staff will be there along the ground working to achieve these the same
Yeah.
and can give you that advice. Is there anything you'd like to say on that, Janine, on that point?
Well, I was just going to add, Chris, I think we could do a little bit more, provide a little bit more around criteria, because we've also got, you know, unemployed people who've been, you maybe gone for a restart programme or something, for an example, but haven't managed to secure a job at the end of it. So I think there, you know, there are some wider groups that we can do a bit more of a definition for. But I think, going back to your point, the really important thing about this is progression for people. So you know, I think we absolutely understand you're not going to move everybody into a job. It's those steps that we can demonstrate that people are taking, you know, through the whole of their life in a more holistic way. You know, the health and well-being might be better, their, you know, their fitness might be better, their social skills might be better, their confidence and self-esteem. So it's, you know, it's much wider than that aim of getting people into work.
Yeah?
Are these figures indicative or definitive?
Definitive.
Okay, so you have to achieve those figures.
Yes. This is, if you look, there will be some discretion. If you're overachieving in some areas and underachieving in some areas, we may look and say, well, actually, you know, we're pleased that you're achieving that large volume of stuff that we're not doing through our direct delivery. We can pick up some more of the slack in these that you're finding more difficult to achieve, and look at having some flexibility on that. As I say, you can collaborate with us operationally as well to try and achieve the outcomes across the board for both our customers and yours. So we will look at some potential flexibilities, but the principle of the grant and what the grant achievement will say is this. Because what we've done is I'll just explain a little bit more. We've split these proportionately by the whole amount of outputs and outcomes that we need to deliver for the entire programme across Nottinghamshire. But we've uplifted ones that we think will be more suited to community grants and lowered ones that we don't. So the skills related ones and achieving qualifications and that, they're lower proportionally in this. The ones that are about doing volunteering, having good work with key workers and different community organisations and that sort of stuff, there's more of those in this. So it is trying to be tailored to what we think would be more suitable for community organisations, voluntary organisations, small clubs, etc. to try and achieve.
I think looking at those figures, they look really realistic and achievable. Sometimes you get them and you think, oh my God, really, that many? But I think they to me, straight away look really achievable.
Well, you can thank the council for putting in place a reasonable profile. But
I think we've looked at it as a first step. You know, as Chris alluded to, you know, this is sort of money that's loosely starts to replace some of the European Social Fund that we would have when we were part of Europe. And for the initial period, that money's been delegated directly to local councils. The longer term view is ultimately it's going to be delegated down to the combined authority once the mayor is elected on 2nd, 3rd May, something like that.
Well, what you've got through this is roughly about £1,000 worth, £1,100 worth of time to work with someone. So if your costs are £1,100, however much time you get out of £1,100, you've got that time to work with this individual, which I think is a significant amount of time. You know, if you give you an example, if someone does an adult education qualification course for 8 weeks, that's about £700, 750 quid. So you've got that little bit much more time than a standard training programme would perhaps have. And certainly more than we have on our National Careers contract as well. Because we recognise this is a challenging group to work with, so we want to give you that extra time.
Get a little bit offside this, but I'm going to chuck it in. What about young adults who are in transition from, say, 16, 17 into 18?
Yeah.
To avoid them going into that group, is that going too far back?
It's the rigidity of the criteria set by government, unfortunately. This isn't even something that Bassett Law could address. It's designed specifically to replace these adult employment programmes that have been lost through European Social Fund, and that 18 plus thing is a feature, Tim.
I think the view of government would be there is other funding available for people in the 16 to 18 agenda, you know, because ultimately you're meant to be in mainstream education up until you're 18. So, you know, it should be
well, that's right,
or an apprenticeship or something like that.
We're not
So, not saying I agree with it, but that's them's the rules. Can I just add one other thing, Chris? Check me if I've not got this right. But in terms of a bit more of the wider background to all of this E33 thing, and we talked about being quite flexible in terms of the targets. because we realise this is a really tough nut to crack in the first step. But within our groups, our skills board, our skills partnerships, we always report on unemployment figures, and the figure that we can